this all the time. It's like a little dance I do. Hold on, I'm hearing the show in my ear, which it's a great show. Who wouldn't want to hear it? Ladies and gentlemen, you know what to do. If you're new, actually, hold on. I say that all the time. I say, ladies and gentlemen, you know what to do. And then I say to subscribe and all that other stuff, which it makes no sense. Because if you know what to do, that means you've been here already. You're already subscribed, hopefully. I mean, seriously, if you're a... It's the Bob Doyle Show. It's the Bob Doyle Show. Sorry, we didn't want to miss that. All right. Okay, enough with the theme. It's been how many years and I still haven't figured out a good way to fade that thing? Let's see who's in the chat. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Let's see who's in the chat room. Look at this. We've got a whole filled chat room. We've got Loretta and Richard and Sarah and Valerie, who is saying hello, beautiful people, right here down at the very bottom. There you go. And Tracy is here as well. And yes, I have to admit, I am looking good. Looking good. I look at this picture and I go, I can't take my eyes off of this. How am I gonna, is it even fair to split the screen with some guest? Well, luckily in this case, it's Brad Yates, so, I've heard through the grapevine that some people like him, so I figure, hey, I want to be liked, so maybe if I hang out with people who are liked, right, see where I'm going with this, then I too shall be liked. So that's the theory. So those of you who are brand freaking new to the show, and first, let me just address the elephant in the room. We were supposed to go live on Wednesdays. That's the time of the show, 8 a.m. That's it. Said, done, written in stone, except when the internet goes out for several days in a row. Which was very annoying, as you could imagine, because, again, Brad Yates, that's like, I don't know, Lady Gaga's coming to town. I just pulled a random performer. I don't really listen to the radio, but I understand she's a big deal. Let's see what we got going on in here. Conscious Pathways Coaching. Oop, that sounds like a new name. Is that Kathy? Look at that. I think that's Kathy. I'm looking at the little tiny picture. And sorry I haven't memorized your brand yet, Kathy, but see, I'll never forget it now. You guys are so great. I want to join the crowds in appreciating it. Yeah, I know I overuse these, but look, my show, my overuse rules. Now, I am drinking from the Bob Doyle Show mug, the official one with the old logo. And look, we are going to get to Brad. Just hang on. I think Sarah has a few choice words for those of you with a lack of patience. It seems like she does. But I think, actually, as I'm thinking about it, I don't want her to use that term. I just thought it through. Call me or something or others. All right. Dishwasher safe version. Yeah, actually, this is, I'm holding it like this, even though it's hot to hold, because this is one of two Bob Doyle Show mugs I have, both of which the handle broke off. And if I were to hold this, the odds are good that I'd get a lap full of hot coffee. No one wants to see that. I'll bet you do. I'll bet you there's somebody is. Somebody wants to see that. None of you, of course. Okay, now did you see what Rock and Raven is saying? Oh, it's a little, someone needs to leave a comment so we can pop it up here. But it says, I'm back, and because you are so important, I left my car running and unlocked while I ran in. For those of you who don't know what's going on, that's because you're not following me on Facebook for some weird, just like crazy, psychotic reason. Because see, over on Facebook, we do a little, I jump on live and we chit-chat for a bit so that I can remind you to come over here and do all of this stuff that all of these people did, which is fill this chat room. See, it's so much more fun when we're all just hanging out together, and you should say hi to each other and the whole thing. Get to know one another. It's a community. That's what Bobs do. They just build communities. All right. So for those of you who are new, the way that and I have to do this for the first few of these new shows, and especially since I screwed up. Well, I didn't. The internet messed up. Stop yelling at me and blaming me. I didn't. But Bob, your energy, obviously, are you going to take responsibility for attracting your experience? Hey, I'm not paying for a coaching session here. The show begins with this nonsense. I have to do it, otherwise it's not the Bob Doyle Show. I'm sorry. If I came on here and said, "Welcome to the Bob Doyle Show. Our guest today is Brad Yates. Let's go to him right now," I'd just be like everybody else. Except I'd be wearing these clothes. Other than that, exact same thing. So we like to have a little fun. And those of you who don't like my fun, well, then you'll learn over time to tune in at about 10 after. Now you're looking at your clocks going, wait, does that mean we have 6 more minutes of this nonsense? Well, time will tell, as it were. Let's go back to the chat where Sarah is saying the nonsense is super important. Yeah. Now, if any of you say important, where the T is like a D, important, you need to not do that, but also make up your mind. Does the T have the D or the T sound? Because if you're going to say important, then you better say important. Like commit. I mean, you'll still be way off, but at least you don't seem like indecisive. Important. No. Important or important, and you'll still be ostracized. But at least we'll know that you're committed. There's some sort of integrity in there. Maybe. Now, Loretta is trying to mention, it's right under the fold here, that it would be weird without my beginning babble. Right, it would just be weird. It'd be like, what am I watching? Ugh, ugh, ugh. And then you get like the gag reflex, and you'd be like, hold, stop, don't talk to me, I gotta lay down. And you lay down, you get down, and that's not enough. So you go into the bathroom because I'm gonna lose it. But the floor is so cool. So you just lay down on the floor with your face and try to think about anything else. Now that wasn't a smart move. I lifted up the mug and this hit the underside of the table. It's amazing that it's still on. So the interview with Mr. Yates, Senior Brad Yates, is in 2 parts. Mm-hmm. So that means that we'll start it. I'll talk for about 10 minutes. And then we're going to take a little break. And then we're going to come back. So Brad will take up most of the show. But again, for the new people, there's other things that I do besides talk to the guests, and some of them might be considered weird or whatnot. You may look at some of the imagery that's going to come your way and go, what's that? That is, if you're new. If you're new. If you're not new to the Bob Doyle Show, this will be like, yeah, that's what he does, all right. And all of these go about 3 minutes too long. Hey, look, until a network executive who's paying me a 7-figure yearly salary tells me you need to cut this down by a minute, I'll do it as long as I want to. Now, if there was an outcry from all of you that said, look, we're really, really trying to like this show, but man, oh man, those things you do in VR, like I think they're done and then they just keep going. If I get enough of those, maybe I'll change it. But maybe I won't. See, that's the thing. You just never know with me, and that's why it's so exciting and why you should, if you haven't already, subscribe. You have to click the bell for the notifications, because if you don't, this is just going to get right past you. And the next thing you know, you're going to be wandering around the internet and you're going to see that you missed like 106 shows. And by the way, if this is your first show, you probably have missed about 106 shows, because there's at least that many, I think, Bob Doyle shows right here on this page, on this channel. You can binge, you can catch up. I think you should, and I think you should have a party. And have everybody come over, because there are certain members of this audience who have already turned the Bob Doyle Show into a drinking game. every time I say ladies and gentlemen. Now it's odd though that I'm doing the show now in the mornings because, well, I mean it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? All right. Trying to remember how I did this. This show is a lot of buttons. And I have to remember all the buttons in this one. I got all these buttons and only one brain to remember. How does he do it? I don't know. All right, so is everybody strapped in? Are you ready? Are you ready? I can't hear you. Oh, that's so annoying when I go to a public, any event, hotel room, whatever, and the person comes out and says, hey, everybody, how are you? And no matter what the reaction is, they do anything related to this. Come on, you can do better than that. I can't hear you. I said, I want to jump on the stage, shove them off, and take over. It's so obnoxious. I'm sorry, colleagues who probably do this. But I can't. I just like I'm not 6 years old. If I was genuinely excited about you being on the stage, doing whatever you're doing, I would stand up and cheer. But you have to earn that. You don't come out and condescend and go, I can't hear you. And I did not intend to go off on this rant. This is not a part of the show. I have gone off script. So let's reel it in. So my guest for today I'm extremely excited about because I was doing some math earlier, which makes me grumpy, and I don't do it very often. And I'm not going to promise I'll ever do it again. But in this case, I was like, how long have I known this guy? And it's like double digits and then some. So 15 years, I realized, like 2004 was the first time I got connected to this guy and ignored what he had to say. And then later, I revisited it, and we'll tell that story in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, of course you know who I'm talking about because I've been hyping it for days and days or a couple of days. It's Brad Yates. Brad, welcome. Thank you for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedule to have a conversation with someone of my stature.
It is my extreme pleasure, Bob. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'll never forget it. So let's talk about a little bit about how we even came to know each other. Obviously, I know Brad from more of my personal development work, the work with the law of attraction. And because the law of attraction there's a lot of that conversation that has to do with your belief system and how you feel about yourself and all sorts of emotional type of things. And so we were always looking for ways to make this journey easier for people. And I had heard about this process that we'll talk about in detail in a little bit, but called EFT. And somehow got connected with Brad. And maybe you remember how the initial contact happened. I don't exactly. But before we even go,
and this is before The Secret, but I had heard about you through Wealth Beyond Reason, and I came knocking. I said, "Hey, dude, you ought to see what I've got. This tapping stuff." And you, as you said, you kind of, you politely dismissed me, I believe. And then, later you said,
ever communicate with me again. If I even hear the word "breh," if someone says "breh," I'm gonna be like, "Not your." All right. So yes, no, okay, continue. I'm sorry, I so rudely interrupted there.
I've gotten used to it over the years.
Yeah.
And then finally, you became a little bit more open. Then it was like, okay, so there's other people out there doing EFT. Why should I listen to you? Why, And I don't know what I said, but apparently it convinced you.
I'll bring everybody up to speed on my side of the conversation. But yes, so I had learned about what you do, and for reasons I'll talk about, I kind of dismissed it for a while. But before that, let's just go back. Let's go back. I wish I had the Wayne's World thing. I don't. Okay, now let's go back. You weren't always an EFT practitioner, were you? Come on. Honestly, there were other things you did. Some of them you seem more readily to talk about. For example, you were an actor. General Hospital, that kind of stuff?
To me, being an actor is kind of like being an alcoholic. You are always that, but I'm a recovering actor. But
How's that going
I was
for
seeing
you?
a acting buddy of mine recently, and I just said, hey, it's different now. It's just now I have written, directed, produced, and starred in 850 of my own short films.
That's correct, and all of which are just wildly popular, and we'll talk about that too. See, but I see you're avoiding, you're ducking. I know what you're doing. You don't want me to. Well, I can't even say what I want to say because it'll take this from PG to R immediately. So let's just.
Wow, you're talking about something else than than what I thought you were.
I'm actually not, because I was going to mention.
What did you discover about me that I didn't want to discover?
No. Well, all right. We're just going to talk about it, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to know about Brad is that at one time. Hold on, I have to kind of compose myself. He was a clown, a circus clown. A circus clown. See, look at his face real close. Now picture a red nose on it and some white, I guess, paint. I have no idea. So, Brad, I got to know. So let's just find out a little bit. So acting and clown, so performance. There was something in you that said that's something. So I really would, in all seriousness, would love to know how the journey from entertainer to EFT practitioner.
How does a grown man find himself tapping on his face for a living?
Right. That's another way to phrase the question.
So absolutely, I've been a performer all my life. I was doing plays in kindergarten, and I was eventually I got a degree in theater from college, went off and toured the world doing children's theater, and came back to Hollywood to make my mark, become a movie star. And along the way, met this woman, fell in love, got married. And when she was pregnant with our first child, I thought, I should probably find a backup job. And I trained. I'd always been fascinated with the power of the mind ever since I was introduced to the book Illusions. And I know that you and Dr. Joe Vitale and Mike Doyle have all said that book was
pivotal,
part of the journey.
So that got you interested. That sort of like with me, the whole world, it introduced me to the whole concept of something a little bit bigger. Yeah. And even though it was a work of fiction, there was something that spoke at a really deep level, I think, with a lot of people. Like, there's somewhere in this fable of illusions is some serious truth that I want to learn about, and so it started me on a journey. It sounds like you too.
It's a fiction. Inside a story is a guidebook to law of attraction.
Yeah.
And so I'd been fascinated with the power of the mind, and so I trained to become a hypnotherapist. And I started doing that, and that was awesome because my theatrical training was really beneficial as a hypnotherapist. And when my audience fell asleep, that was a good thing. So I enjoyed that, and then started doing that on the side. And then a couple of years later, when our second child was on the way, I thought, as much as I love acting, this personal development work is really my calling. This is really what I'm meant to do. So left Los Angeles, moved to Northern California, and through some other hypnotherapists found out about this tapping thing and energy psychology, and went and took a training with Gary Craig, the founder of EFT, and just fell in love with this process. So over the next little bit, I was introducing it into my hypnotherapy sessions, which little by little became tapping sessions with a little bit of hypnosis at the end. And I was doing that, and then YouTube came along. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if there was a YouTube video, a tapping video that people could start their day with to, clear out that stuff that might otherwise hold them back. And I'll call it Tap of the Morning. And that was all I ever intended to do, is that one video. And little by little, I started to have other ideas, and now I've got, 850 plus videos. And here we are.
Yes. Okay. So, but the clown thing. Now, what was going on in your life? Was it? There's some turmoil, a tragedy? What? had you put on a nose and terrorize children. I mean, now I understand why you felt like you needed to get into personal development to undo all the wrong you did, but I just kept thinking, what was the break? It must have been horrifying. Maybe you don't want to talk about it.
Well, because I know how you feel about clowns.
Yeah, you're right. Right. You don't want me to have a meltdown in front of everybody just at the mere thought of it.
Go ahead and be tapped. I wish I should have had a picture prepared. You can't see the back of my wall is where I have my Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Clown College diploma. BFA, Bachelor of Fun Arts.
Is that what they call it?
Yes, that is a real thing. So while I was in Hollywood trying to make it as a movie star, I heard about these auditions for Clown College. And at that time, there were jokes about Clown College that it's harder to get into than Harvard because they take such a small amount of people from all of the people who apply. And somehow or another, I was one of those people. And I even was selected to be one of the MCs of the final show under the big top for Kenneth Feld, the owner of Feld Entertainment, which is Ringling Brothers. Well, the circus is now gone, and but Disney on Ice he produces. So yeah, I got to perform for him, and I did not actually go on the road with the circus. They brought me back for a couple other things, but they did. I wasn't quite. I was more of a Cirque du Soleil kind of clown than a Ringling Brothers kind of clown.
Well, actually, that's really good to know. You probably didn't terrorize that many kids. I mean,
I did not.
I did not.
I did get terrorized by some kids when my wife decided that we had to make use of this clown background, so she signed me up for a school carnival at my kid's school, and was terrorized by some children.
They were just striking first. If we don't get that clown, he's going to get us. All right. So now we've been dancing around this whole EFT thing. We're going to talk in detail about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about EFT, what it is, and even if you've never heard of it, even if you're familiar with it, come on back and let's talk about a way that we can use this process to make your day just a little bit happier.
Jolly's Clown Shack, Jolly speaking.
Hey, do you guys do birthday parties?
Do we do birthday parties?
Yeah.
You mean like, do we throw them?
No, I mean, do you have clowns for kids' birthdays?
Well, yeah, we're Clown Shack.
Okay, well, my daughter is turning 6, and I took her to the circus a few months ago.
$1,100.
Did you say $1,100?
Yeah, you said she's 6, right?
Yeah.
$1,100.
Okay, well, that's way out of my price range. I thought maybe $100. I mean, what are you doing for $1,100?
I'm being a clown, sir. It's a Clown Shack.
I think I'm gonna do a little more shopping around.
Suit yourself. Hi, I'm Jolly Myers, owner of Clown Shack. With the price of clowns going through the f***ing roof, wouldn't it be nice if there were a way to have clowns in your home without all the fuss, muss, and exorbitant prices? Well, now there is. The Clown Shack is proud to present V-Clown, our virtual clown service. All you need to do is Skype us in or whatever, and we'll interact with your kids from miles away. You won't even be able to smell our breath. It's a hell of a deal. When you hire a V-Clown, here's what you'll receive. 90 minutes of me staring at your kids through a camera. But don't get too freaked out. They're staring back at me too, so we're all the weirdos here. I'll do all kinds of clown things like honk horns and make your children cry. On a good day, I'll do balloon animals upon request. As long as the request is a snake or a worm or a hot dog. Hell, I'll even sing happy birthday to the kid of honor, using his or her actual name, or whatever word I can remember in the moment. That's the Clown Shack guarantee. And we'll wrap it all with the Clown Around Story Time, where we retell a classic tale with exciting twists you can only get from a clown. And then, little Little Red Riding Hood got some kind of virus and was throwing up for like a week. Lost like 12 pounds. And best of all, you get all of this at a fraction of the price it would cost to get me to get in my truck and drive all the way out to wherever the f you are. Like half price or something. I don't know. We'll talk about it when you call. Call, you ask? That's right. Just pick up the phone and call. Call now. I'm waiting for your call.
Clown is dangerous and should not be called. We are back, and boy do I love saying that. It seems like it's like a real show, right? We'll be right back after these, and then we actually went to a thing, just like on TV, and now we're back, and I got to say, all right, we're back, and I probably, I played sound effects, and it's just like, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. And of course, to talk to fascinating guests like Brad Yates here, who we're going to move past the clown thing and all of it. We're not even going to think about it anymore. The clowns will not come up. Let's just forget that there are clowns and that he was one. So whatever you do not keep thinking Brad was a clown as we move forward. I think that'll do it. I think that'll clear their minds.
I think that, yeah.
All right, so this is what I want to say, because now you and I have been friends, and I've known about EFT for 15 years. It's a big part of what I teach and all my coaching. I mean, I've fully integrated it into my practice. When I first learned about it, and just like with the law of attraction, it was like, I love this concept, but I need more. I need a little bit more evidence. Like, why does this work? And for whatever reason, I guess I just didn't get it the first time around. It kept coming back up. And I think, the way that I remember and tell the story is that you and I touched base again. And I think you asked, this is the way I remember it. And so just let me just have this story, okay? But it was something about, you asked me, have you even tried it? Or something along those lines. And I hadn't really. And so I just chose a random event that was, I think it was like a traffic related, some minorly upsetting thing to try this process on, which we're going to talk about for those of you who have not heard of it before. And it absolutely was undeniably helpful in calming me down and bringing me to a different state in a very short period of time. And so then I thought, all right, well, there's probably something to this. Dove in a little deeper, and now, of course, as you know, I'm a huge proponent and have been for a really long time. But I want to talk to those people who were kind of like me, because this show isn't necessarily going to go out to a bunch of woo-woo type of people, although I'm introducing it to them ever so slightly, a little bit at a time. But, we still want to keep it real. And the process of EFT, or emotional freedom techniques, is interesting and a little odd. And so I want to help people kind of get past that and maybe help them to not be so resistant to trying it like I was, and just kind of give them a basic overview. So you told us that you had heard about this EFT thing as you were studying about hypnosis. You went and got the certification. What were your first experience, like your thought process with it, how you integrated it, and then what were your first results to have you say, hey, this is a real thing and I want to go deeper?
Yeah. So admittedly, it was probably easier for me to be open to it because, again, I had gone to Ringling Brothers Clown College. So
we said we weren't going to mention
face.
that. We gave them freedom. We promised it to them, and then the next thing you know, you come barging through with this gigantic clown.
I couldn't help it. But it was necessary for this story as to why I was a little more open to tapping on my face than the average person, might be.
Like me, the non-clown person.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Okay.
When I met you, you were into the law of attraction, and it's still at a time when that was relatively new for the general public.
Yes, correct.
So
you were open
so I was more open to it. The thing that really got me was during this training, Gary passed out Hershey's Kisses and said, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, how much would you like this chocolate right now? And I was a bit of a chocoholic at the time, and I'm thinking 8 or 9, about to eat it right now. And he said, okay, let's tap. Even though I want this chocolate, it's going to taste so good. And I know that for those of you who are watching this and are new to tapping and wondering what the heck is he doing, and we'll explain it a little more in a moment. Mm-hmm. Stay tuned. But I had the same sort of response that you had with the traffic incident. In a matter of moments, I had as much interest in the chocolate as I did the foil wrapper. Mm-hmm. I could not eat it. And in fact, I believe I did not eat chocolate for 2 years after that event. So
wow.
To go from needing to eat that chocolate to not being able to, in a matter of moments, like, there's something to this.
Yeah. Yeah, it is remarkable how inexplicably fast it can change your state. And that's not to say that everybody has that result the first time. You and I seem to have something that was like very tangible, or at least enough to say, I'm looking at this. So I really, as we have this conversation, which might seem a little out there, I just invite any of you who are sort of skeptical or cross-armed to first of all say, I get it, I totally get it, and just try it, even if you don't understand it, because you don't really need to understand it for it to have an impact. And then if you want to dig deeper and want to learn about it after you've gotten some relief, then great. There's plenty of information out there, and Brad has a ton of stuff that I'll link to, and you can go to workshops. There's
so much information out there now. I mean, well, when we first met, that was a couple of years before I even had a video on YouTube. That was pre-YouTube.
Oh, wow, yeah.
There was very little research done at that point. 15 years later, there's a lot of research. There's over 100 studies in peer-reviewed magazines, double-blind studies, showing the effectiveness of tapping, fMRI studies showing the effects, lab tests showing that people's cortisol levels have dropped significantly, showing that tapping has a massive impact on stress relief. So, where we are now from where we were 15 years ago is huge. So, and as Bob said, as you said, you don't have to understand it. Just like you don't have to know how a carburetor works in order to drive a car. You don't have to know how electricity is conducted in order to turn the lights on in your house. But this process does work. So, yeah.
The thing I would invite, again, these people who really want to understand everything to the nth degree, again, I am one of you, and oftentimes that will stop you from enjoying your life. Remember, this show, the reason I'm talking to Brad or anybody is that I believe that if you do as they say, take these suggestions, try these little tips, these life hacks, however you want to identify them, your life will become a bit happier. And Brad mentioned stress and cortisol and all of that, and our bodies are racing with it all the time, and it absolutely impacts the quality of our life. To a huge degree, like exponential, like you don't even know it. We're so running at a slow burn with cortisol all the time that we think it's the norm. And so when you can lower your cortisol levels and actually change your physiology by doing this thing that you don't understand why, like why do I have to say this? Why do I have to think this? Why do I have to... We can explain that, but it's not important for you in terms of getting the results. If it just lowers your stress a little bit, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about with this show. It's these little things that you can do to increase the quality of the moment, right? Just make the moment a little easier, because your day is a series of moments. So you do EFT, you eat a wintergreen lifesaver, you put on 2 pairs of socks, and your day is awesome, right? Okay, so let's talk about, Brad, what is freaking EFT?
So EFT, also was short for emotional freedom techniques, and also a lot of us just call it tapping these days. It basically is this process of tapping with our fingertips along these points, which are along meridian lines. So in Chinese medicine for thousands of years, they have said there's this flow of energy through our body along these pathways that are called meridians. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being, physically and emotionally. And when this energy gets stuck, we don't feel so good. And when we don't feel so good, we don't think so clearly, and we don't live the best lives possible. So in traditional Chinese medicine, they would stick needles in these key points. We're just using our fingertips to tap that. And that balances out the energy. And as I said, we now have modern research showing that it clears out stress. So cortisol is one of the hormones that gets pumped through the body when we are experiencing anxiety, fear, fight, or flight. The amygdala in our brain finds there's some threat, responds by going into fight or flight, which was great, 100,000 years ago when we had neighboring tribes with spears or saber-toothed tigers. And now, the boss says, hey, I want you to come into my office. And we're going, oh, saber-toothed tiger. And we've got cortisol pumping through our body, which has all kinds of effects. Like it slows down our digestive system, and it's not good to be in this constant state of stress. And yet we are responding to all kinds of little things, especially in the information age, where we're bombarded with bad news constantly. and all kinds of things are telling our brain, be afraid, be afraid. So if you were to think of tapping as nothing more than a stress relief technique, it would make sense why it's beneficial in so many areas, because that stress stops us in terms of feeling good physically, in terms of feeling good emotionally. And when you look at law of attraction, and it's, Abraham always says, the most important thing is that you feel good. Well, I got all this other stuff that tells me I can't feel good. Well, if you can calm that stress down.
And this is where I want to jump in again and say, like, when we start talking about energy and meridians, there may be some people who are like, but I'm saying, okay, forget all of that. Just do it and try it. You can go in private. No one has to see you. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to report back to me. You don't have to tell anybody you tried it. It can be totally secret, right? I didn't do it in public.
It's our little secret.
That's right. Until it makes this impact on you and you go, oh, I see. So if all the explanation is mind-boggling, or it's just like a different planet, just put it aside for now. Let it wash through you. And just as Brad just describes sort of exactly what the technique is, just take note of it. Again, you look around, make sure no one's watching. But then just try it sometime. Just do it. Don't be like Bob. Just try it. And look, and I will say that there are some people who will try it and they go, well, I didn't feel much. There are ways to make sure that, to maximize this, like check in with yourself, like Brad talked about with the chocolate scale from 1 to 10. You need to be able to do certain things to measure the results. But when you do that kind of thing, and when you tune into the episode, there's little tweaks to make it awesome. But I believe, like I'm sure Brad does, that it can work for just about anybody. And our brains get in the way. So let's talk about the actual process, the general approach. And I know, of course, that there are many practitioners, and with every practitioner, there's a slightly different way of approaching it. You have your way, which is clearly very effective, and people love it. So let's talk to you since you're here. I got nobody else right now, so you.
I don't see anyone else, so I guess it's down to me.
Yeah, let's just hear your way.
And it's. I was at a conference recently, and someone said, so would you call what you do woo-woo? And I said, I wouldn't. It's scientific. It's, yes, for some people, the idea of meridians sounds woo-woo. That's how EFT was created, was somebody was studying, Dr. Roger Callahan was studying acupuncture and acupressure and the idea of the meridians. Whether or not that's the actual basis of what it is, or there's something else going on, but it's just a scientific thing of stimulating these different places on the body, which we can show have lower electric resistance. You can actually use tools to measure that. Down regulates the stress response. So we have fMRIs, as I said. There are studies showing it. So even though it looks a little different, it's really not woo-woo.
Right.
But I get it if people have that feeling. So how we do it. And I'll show you the very basic version that is the basics that everybody who does EFT starts from, is you take whatever the issue is that is bothering you. So let's say you're just feeling, we'll just use stress. So whatever's going on in your life, you're feeling stress about it. It could be a presentation you need to give, or a report that's due, or you want to ask somebody out on a date. And I would say, so check in and notice on a scale of 0 to 10 how much stress you might feel. What are the physical symptoms? Oh, my heart's pounding, or I feel this tension in my shoulders, my stomach's turning, whatever it might be. So you have that rate on a scale of 0 to 10. Then you would take what we call the karate chop point on the side of the hand, and you take the index and middle finger, and with your fingertips, just tap on the side of your hand, and you would say, even though I feel this stress, I choose to love and accept myself. We'd repeat that 3 times. And generally when we're tapping points, we'll tap between 5 and 10 times, but depending on the phrase that we're saying, it might be longer. It's not an exact science of it. It has to be exactly between 5 and 10 times. So even though I feel the stress, I choose to love and accept myself. Then tapping right here at the beginning of your eyebrow, we'd say, all this stress. Right here at the side of your eye, the corner of your eye socket, all this stress. Right under the middle of your eye, just above your cheek, all this stress. Right under your nose, all this stress. Right under your lower lip, all this stress. Right here where your collarbones just about come together is a little bit of a U shape at the base of your throat. You can tap with your fingertips or make a fist, all this stress. And about 4 inches below your armpit, it's right about bra strap level, and I'm sure even the guys can figure out where that is. All this stress. And then finally, the crown of your head, it's just tapping around all your fingertips, all this stress. Take a deep breath. Then you check in again and say, okay, now how much stress do I feel? Now for some folks, it's going to go from an 8 to a 0 like that. For some, it's going to go from an 8 to a 7.75. But tappage is like peeling layers of the onion, and you'll get more awareness of, oh, I know what's bothering me. And I thought it was this report that's due, but it's actually, I now remember this report that I was late with when I was in the 3rd grade, and I got grounded for a week, and I'm still upset about that. So not only do you clear your stress now, but you're able to resolve something that happened, 15, 20, 30, 60 years ago. So
again, this is one of those things that can sound, again, it just really depends on who is listening and where you're at with this conversation. Because, one never knows. But I am, as I'm listening, I'm trying to listen as a first-time person, like, why would you say I love and accept myself? Like, that might turn people off right away. Maybe it's just very confronting to hear that, or maybe it sounds too soft and mushy. So for those people who really want to understand, why would I say I love and accept myself? What's your answer to that?
Yeah, and the original version is, even though I have this issue, I love and accept myself, or I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And for a lot of people, that's really hard to say. So that's where I changed it to I choose to. So it kind of creates a buffer there. But what we want to do is set up a statement of self-acceptance that it just sort of creates an opening for the process to work. We're accepting that we have this issue. And I like to say that self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love. So whatever we're holding on to, the stress we're holding on to, the anger, even though it's uncomfortable, there is something inside of us saying, yes, but I need this to protect me. So by having the statement of, even though I have this, I love and accept myself, it just gives us this compassionate opening to be able to create some healing. And as you said, sometimes it happens faster for some folks. For some folks, they'll try and go, I didn't really notice much. And they'll dismiss it. And I would say, okay, do you take supplements? Because my guess is the first time you took a vitamin C, you didn't go, wow, I feel fantastic. Or if you exercise and you do sit-ups, you probably don't do 3 sit-ups and go, oh man, I don't have a 6-pack. Obviously that doesn't work. So I would encourage you, even though with tapping, sometimes the benefits are immediate and profound, and we say, wow, that's incredible. And it feels like doing 3 sit-ups and suddenly having rock hard abs. More often than not, it's a much more subtle process.
So I have to add that if you are a fan of metaphor and analogy, Brad Yates is your man. He encyclopedias of these things. I have no idea where he comes up with them, but it's crazy. But it's great, because that is a great example. I've never thought of it that way. Like, yeah, you take a supplement, it takes some time to do it. You're learning a new skill. And your ego's going crazy. What is this silly thing I'm doing? And so, like, you kind of hack away at yourself to get comfortable with it and accept results. And I think one of the other things that's great about this that I want to talk about, because it's why, well, so much of what you provide works, in this whole concept of borrowing benefits. I'll let you talk about what that is.
Yeah, so in borrowing benefits, when there is, for instance, like I just did a live workshop in Las Vegas yesterday, and a group of folks there. And I will ask people in the audience, what's coming up for you? What's blocking you? What is your brain telling you about why you couldn't or shouldn't be, do, or have what you want? And someone might say, well, it's because my parents said that I wasn't good enough. Now, other people in the room might not have had that experience, but I can be tapping with this person on, even though my parents told me I wasn't good enough. And everyone else can be saying the same words and be getting benefits and be reducing stress and changing their mind about things going on in their lives, about why they couldn't or shouldn't have what they want, even though we're not using words that are specific to them. So basically the other people in the room, or if it's a recorded teleclass that I have, if someone's listening to it and they're listening to me tap with someone else, they are borrowing benefits from that other person's tapping around, because you're tapping on your body and you're clearing out your own stress, and the mind will make associations and say, yes, that's not exactly my thing, but it does kind of relate to, and then it's getting cleared.
Over and over. It's like when you see, here's what I'm getting at with the great thing about EFT is there are so many resources. Like each of Brad's videos is something that it's like a little therapy session. It's like having your own EFT session. So we've told you how to do it, but you don't have to understand it right away, because there are hours of guided sessions, and all you do is repeat what Brad says. We'll demonstrate it here in a second. Like, I will show you how you can watch one of Brad's videos. One of the things I actually wanted to start this conversation with was long before I was in this work, long before I knew what EFT was. When I would get into a stressful sort of situation, an argument with someone, whatever, I would find that I would just be doing this just in auto response. It's like this nervous sort of, it's just like this was soothing to me, right? But it just happened. No one told me to do that. And a little less
built into the body.
yeah. But it absolutely worked. And so learning about EFT later, and that there are points here, like there's a reason that worked. And so I just want to say, for those of you who are looking at this and will look at me go through it and say, that's too weird, I'm not going to do it. Let me just invite you to do this. Next time you're feeling angst, stressed, any of that, just kind of right here on that collarbone point. This is a great sort of all-purpose, anywhere, anytime. Just brings it down a bit. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to remember a setup phrase. Just kind of do this and see if it doesn't make a shift in your body somewhat. Maybe that will say, well, wow, what if I did the whole process with that? Because just this right here, the physiology of this will make a difference. And that's, and I was doing it even before I knew it. Just sometimes your body just, like my body knew to do this, right?
But it's already in our body. Our body is already designed to do this. This was just a discovery that Roger Callahan and others have made about, there's this thing that the body is able to do. The body has a natural way of being able to downregulate stress. It's like if you watch nature videos and you watch an antelope that has been attacked by a lion, but gets away, and then you'll see the antelope shake and vibrate. It is basically doing the same process of shaking out this energy blockage.
Even though I'm an antelope.
Yeah. Exactly. Even though I am the prey and not the predator.
Right.
So, but our body is designed to have this. So lots of people have found, I do things like I wring my hands, or I do this, and all kinds of different ways that people are stimulating these points on the body and have just discovered that reduces stress. And so EFT is just a matter of saying, okay, we have this process now, let's use that in a specific way to get different positive results.
Okay, so now, and again, we're going to point people to your YouTube channel and all sorts of resources. I mean, you could just get lost in your YouTube channel, spend days there, just about any topic you could want. Like,
I thought you were going to say you could just get lost in my eyes, but
okay, I'll leave that for my co-host who doesn't exist. But no, I mean, just about any topic you can imagine, Brad has got a session for, and probably several of them, I would guess, from different angles, down to.
There's a tap for that.
Yeah. I've never heard that. How have I not heard that yet? I know you've got to have been saying it for years. There's a tap for that. Is that on a shirt, Brad? Come on, merchandise.
No, I should have a shirt that says that.
Yeah. Okay. This is equivalent to mailing it to yourself. Now nobody can use it. It's on the internet. Brad Yates alone. There's a tap for that. Man, I don't want to see that on somebody else's shirt. Okay. Let's go through a session. Let's go through the simplest, quickest, not your typical Brad session. because Brad goes deep with his sessions and he goes intuitively, and you'll see this in live environments. I've had Brad coach with or do lead tapping sessions with coaching groups, and entire calls filled with people who are live and tapping along, and he's going to customize those types of session to the group. He'll just feel into it, woo woo, whatever. But what I wanted, and so sometimes they go for a while and sometimes they're fairly short or whatever. But let's just to demonstrate, like, if they were going to watch your video, I'll be them, and I'm just going to do what you do. So just any subject, it could be stress again, just a sample, like one round, just so I can do that. And this is exactly what you would do. You would just copy what Brad does and say what he says out loud. But I do want to just stress this again, the whole rating your upset first, and allowing yourself to really feel the upset, not like reference it. Like because I've dealt with so many people who they have an upset, and then like later I'll tap on that, but they're not in it anymore, and they're just sort of remembering it. And this is really about, you need to be in that state because this is doing something. It is balancing something so you need to kind of generate the out of balanceness for this to have a feelable impact. So when you're really getting into it, and I think the reason for the reminder phrase and the reason for all these things is to keep you in it. You should be digging for upset, right? And Brad will go positive, negative, and do all sorts of things, but all of which bring up the full range of stuff that could potentially be out of balance to tap on. So this will most definitely be a shortened version, but you'll be able to see how Brad does it in some of his longer ones.
Yeah, different practitioners do it in different ways. Some practitioners do specifically what I showed you before, and they just repeat over and over what the issue is, and that can be very effective. I wouldn't say mine is better or worse because each person responds differently. It's like saying, rock and roll is better than jazz. It depends on the person. Some people don't feel that way. So it's finding the kind of tapping format that works for you. For me, it's a very intuitive, exploratory process of looking at, I wonder what might be going on there. But as you just said, Bob, the reminder phrase is to keep us focused on it so that, like if you spilled something on your floor and you wanted to clean it up, you want to stay cleaning up where the mess is, because otherwise, if you're just randomly talking to somebody and you start wandering off, and you might not fully clean up where the mess was because now you're just all over the place. So we have the reminder phrase so that we stay focused on what it is that I want to clean up.
Do you see
an analogy for you?
Yeah, 45 seconds later. Okay. All right, let's choose anything, and let's go through a round, and I'll be the folks at home. I'm watching YouTube going, clickety click click, 800 videos. Geez, how do I even choose one? Where's a short one? Hold on. 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 3, 2. Gosh, I don't know. I'll just click this one here. I don't even know if it's my issue. Let's see what this guy's about. He's not saying anything. Now let's do a tapping session, Brad. I'm watching your video. This is what I'm doing. I'm pretending to watch your video.
Oh, you're pretty. I thought you were actually going to bring up the screen. I'm like, okay, let's watch the monitor and see what's going on. But no, it's me live. Okay.
Unfair. I threw that on you. I can totally see why you'd think I was going to do that. That any sane person would.
I should have read the show notes before getting on.
I should have written the show notes. All right. So let's just go through a sample session.
Sample session. One of the things that plagues people the most in terms of creating the life they want is a belief that they're just not good enough. And it's absolute rubbish, and I'm here to help you change your mind about that. So what I'd like you to do is ask yourself what that feels like when you say, I'm not good enough. Rate that on a scale of 0 to 10 as to how uncomfortable that might be, how true it might be. And let's get to the truth. So, taking full responsibility for your own well-being. Even though I doubt that I'm good enough.
Even though I doubt that I'm good enough.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
Even though I doubt that I'm good enough.
Even though I doubt that I'm good enough.
I choose to love and honor myself anyway.
I choose to love and honor myself anyway.
Even though I doubt that I'm good enough.
Even though I doubt that I'm good enough.
Because I've had different experiences.
Because I've had different experiences.
that suggested I wasn't good enough.
that suggested I wasn't good enough.
And even though it was misinformation,
And even though it was misinformation,
I somehow got convinced.
I somehow got convinced.
And even though I doubt that I'm good enough,
And even though I doubt that I'm good enough,
I choose to deeply and completely
I choose to deeply and completely
love, honor, and accept myself,
love, honor, and accept myself.
and maybe anyone else involved,
And maybe anyone else involved,
because I choose to be that free.
because I choose to be that free.
All these doubts about being good enough,
All these doubts about being good enough,
all this fear that I'm not good enough,
all this fear that I'm not good enough,
all these reasons
all these reasons
why I believe that I'm not good enough.
why I believe that I'm not good enough.
Some things happened in my life
Some things happened in my life,
where people said things to me
or people said things to me,
that convinced me that I wasn't good enough.
that convinced me that I wasn't good enough.
And so now I'm walking around
And somehow I'm walking around
thinking that I'm not good enough.
thinking that I'm not good enough.
And it's a lie.
And it's a lie.
It was misinformation,
It was misinformation,
a misunderstanding,
a misunderstanding,
mine or someone else's.
mine or someone else's.
And I got stuck in it.
And I got stuck in it.
And now I'm setting myself free
And now I'm setting myself free
to recognize that I'm absolutely good enough
to recognize that I'm absolutely good enough
in body, mind, and spirit.
in body, mind, and spirit.
And take a deep breath. And then just close your eyes, check in with yourself, and say, I'm good enough.
I'm good enough.
And hopefully that feels more true now. Hopefully some of that, for some folks, it'll be like, oh my God, how did I not know that I was so fantastic?
Yep.
And for others, it might just be, I just feel a little more calm.
Yep.
So
So
that's a very brief version.
That's so brief for Brad Yates.
For me.
You have no idea. But look, I don't want to make the length of it a bad thing. It's great because it is so exploratory, and that's what helps people really dig and get all the nooks and crannies. Which I think a lot of that other technique, they miss it. I think that there's great value in the digging, and so when you get started to have guidance from someone who knows how to do that digging, then you're going to learn. I learned this from listening to you and Carol Look and other practitioners and getting their techniques and then finding what worked best for me. So after you listen and listen and listen, I mean, this should be a skill set that you take on learning and doing on your own without depending on recordings, ideally, because like Brad said, this is our natural state. Our ability to release is built into us. We've just not learned it. This technique helps us be more direct with it when if we're not able to just make a decision to let go, which we are equipped to do, but this process helps jump around some of that wiring that makes that so difficult. Would you agree?
I would agree absolutely,
Okay.
110%.
So I hope that if you were new to this, that you went ahead and did that. Maybe you were with a group of friends and decided to laugh at me, and Brad doing this, but then secretly you're going to go home and go, where is that recording? I can't find the recording. I got to try this. I feel you. So along with this post somewhere, there'll be all these links to Brad, so you can kind of just get started and start playing with it. Links to his website. He's got programs. He's got live appearances coming up. He's on tour. He's out there. He's just making stuff happen.
What I do, it's how I roll.
That's right. And I don't think that you put a clown nose on any of those venues, do you?
Not in the venue, there's different events, and some of the videos, because I do have a fear of clowns in there. So
Yes. And for those of you who are, there's one, I don't even want to spoil it. Just look for it. It'll be obvious. If you scan the right column of related, you'll know. You'll know which one it is. But don't worry, he's not doing some, Tim Curry or whoever. It's not.
Yes.
It's all good.
Yes,
Well,
not
okay.
Pennywise.
Well, Brad, as always, it's just great talking to you. It's so much fun, and we'll have to keep doing this. But I really wanted people to understand this concept because it does help. And it really, even though you have to get past sort of the aspects of it, just little tips like this and integrating into your life on any level anything you can do to take that edge off will make your day better and give you more access to happiness. And practicing this, it helps you to learn what it feels like to spontaneously release, so that you'll be in some situations where you don't even need the tapping. And then in that case, that's when the tool has been a fantastic success, because it's tuned you back into your natural state of like, yeah, I can let this go. I obviously can do it. I've done it this way. Now let's see if I can do it with a decision, and you get better. But it's just such an easy, and it's free, and it's non-addictive. It's just, just try it, right?
Please.
Any final words, Brad, for any of the skeptics out there, or just anything you'd like to end with in terms of getting people to just give this a try if they're resistant?
Well, as you said, I mean, there's no harm in trying it. Give it a try. It's so easily available. It's something you can do so simply, and there's no good reason not to. And given that it is the quickest, simplest form of stress relief out there, and given that most, if not all, of the issues we face, physical and emotional, are either caused by or worsened by stress, to be able to have a tool to lower that, I mean, why wouldn't you give it a try?
Right. Just ego. That's it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It looks silly. Those are the only reasons. And if you let that kind of stuff stop you from increasing the quality of your life, you're just missing out. And that's why we have this show. All right, Brad.
I could feel better, but I don't want to look silly. So
that's right.
Even if it's privacy of my own home.
And as ridiculous as that sounds, that is exactly what stops people. There are people who are not happy because of that decision.
I'm sorry that I'm saying that in a judgmental, because it's not a judgment, because I totally get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. If you're resisting, if you feel resistant, I don't know about that. It's because you have programming telling you that it's not okay. It's not that there's something wrong with you. It's just that it doesn't fit with your belief system. And there's also a resistance of, if it's that simple, I probably shouldn't be able to use it. Or if it's that simple, it'll create change in my life, and I'm not ready for change. So
yeah,
totally get it. And I hope you'll take a deep breath and try it anyway.
Yes, because it's only through the actually doing it a couple of times that you start to see, and then relax around it and give it the validity that it deserves. All right, Brad, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon.
Pardon me. It was requested that I come to see you.
Hello, Mr. Dodson. Glad you could come by.
Yes. Well, it's not like I had a great deal of say in the matter.
Would you like to sit down?
More than anything. But the technology isn't available yet.
I see.
I can squat.
Whatever's most comfortable for you.
I'll stand then.
Fine. I'll stand too. Mr. Dodson, do you know why you're here?
Well, I've always thought it was to contribute my insights and wisdom to the greater good.
That is great. But I actually just meant here in this office, like why you were sent to see me.
Oh.
I'm told perhaps you're dealing with a certain amount of anxiety. I'm sorry, is that not accurate?
I have been told that by others.
But do you feel anxious, Mr. Dodson?
Mr.
Yates.
Mr. Yates, I'm not comfortable discussing my emotional state with someone I'm only talking to for the first time.
Of course, I totally understand that.
But yes, one could say that I am dealing with an inordinate amount of stress.
But would you say that?
Yes.
And are you ready to do something about that?
I suppose.
So, taking full responsibility for your own well-being, repeat after me. Even though I'm terribly stressed.
Even though I am terribly What?
Sorry, forgot to mention. Also, tap the side of your hand like this.
What? Why?
Just trust me, Mr. Dodson.
Very well.
So, tap like this and repeat after me. Even though Wow, your fingers are really wobbly.
Even though wow, your fingers are really wobbly.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back live and in person. And look at all the stuff we've got going on up here. Any second now, Loretta and Sarah, you all hung in there. Steven joined us. Tracy's still here. Rockin' Raven's going to quit. Sorry, you guys can sit down. Quit smoking. And it all happened here. It's another life-changing episode of the Bob Doyle Show. It's about more than I can handle. So I hope you guys got value out of that. I know that a lot of you watching live here are already familiar with EFT and Brad and the whole thing, and I'm not sure, but maybe there were some takeaways or whatever. But if you were new to this, I know I drilled it home ad nauseum at the end about just trying it. But just try it. We sent you this link here, bobdoyleshow.com/Brad. We'll give you a link to all of his upcoming live events. London, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and more. So you can check that out, and also links to his other programs, etc. So thanks you guys for hanging out, and I know we're a few minutes late, but I just couldn't stop talking there at the beginning, and we're going to wrap this up with a deleted scene from the thing you just watched. Well, any minute. That's what I'm talking about.